Hey everyone, Magic Sword here, and I have not been this excited for Priest since Scholomance. And just like Scholomance, they tried to build a whole new archetype, and that didn't work. But I have faith this time because now we have two potential new archetypes, right? So, the first thing here, this quest line, right? This quest line is a deck maker, right? This will be a huge build around card, and it has a huge power level, arguably the highest possible power level of any card, because the reward is to destroy your enemy hero, right? You just beat your opponent. You have a card that says I win, right? So let's back up a little bit. Let's talk about the quest in general. So quest line, play a 2, 3, and 4 cost card. It does not have to be in that order. It just has to be 2, 3, and 4 in any order up front here. Then you get to discover a card from your deck, right? So let's think about what the chief complaints about Priest have been. Too much generation, which isn't necessarily solved here, but it is often phrased as, I want priests to play their own cards. Well, this quest, each little reward between the parts of the quest makes them do that. This part, discover a card from your deck. The next part, discover a card from your deck. Then you get the buffed up Xyrella, right? And then the other chief complaint is Priest doesn't have a win con. It just kind of grinds you out until you get bored and die. Um, well, name a stronger win con than just straight up destroying your opponent. You can't because that is amazing. So obviously this is fairly weak to counterspell. It's destroyed by counterspell literally, and Yogg, oh my Yogg, right? So that's not great, but I don't think that's a huge issue. Um, let's go step by step through this quest, right? So you play this on 1, then you curve out a 2, a 3, and a 4, right? This does not necessarily look like a tempo deck. This could still be normal priest control, where on 2 you play some body, some troop, 2 drop, then 3 you do like palm reading, then 4 you do your discounted 5 cost spell, right? Or you discover a 5 cost off of the palm reading and it reduces to 4. Because as pointed out by Celestalon, I believe, on Twitter, this card does account for mana cost changes, right? So I saw, I'm sure many people thought of it, but Zeddy was the most prominent post I saw, said Celestial Alignment makes this basically impossible. And that's true, but if you're going to play Celestial Alignment into a priest, they're probably just going to win anyway because of palm reading. It's like, oh, now all their stuff costs 0. So do that at your own risk. So the premise here is that you want to just like keep curving stuff out. You play this on 1 because it's the quest. That's just what you do with quests, right? Then you 2, 3, 4. Then you get the shard of, or discover the void shard rather. Play a 5 and a 6. Then you get to discover another card from your deck, and then you play a 7 and an 8, right? And this means that at the earliest you're killing your opponent on turn 10, right? Because you have to play this on 9 and then survive. And then let's say you top this, you kill them on 10. That's the absolute earliest this can be done. Realistically, you are not completing these perfectly, right? The 2, the 3, and the 4, you might be able to play those all in one go. You might, if you like have been kind of sucking with getting this quest active, you play the 2, the 3, and the 4 all on turn 9, right? Then you get the next quest, and then next turn you play a 5, and then the following turn you play a 6, because again, this cares about mana discounts, so you can't cheat out a 6 drop and have it count. You have to play it as a 6 cost card, right? So you kind of get this game of like resource management where you're like, oh no, I have to clear the board right now. I want to use, let's say you have a Holy Novus 4 now. I'm stuck in the past. Let's say you have a not a mass hysteria, the cloning machine thing, right? The 7 cost card. But you're like, oh, but I'm not on Illuminate the Void yet. I don't want to use my 7 cost spell. But if I don't, I'll die. So you have this fun there's a lot to consider when you're playing this priest, right? Whereas before, Soul Mirror is the card. Whereas before, priest is just kind of like haha, I used my 5th palm reading to generate my 6th apotheosis and now I'm gonna win, right? You just kind of mindlessly keep generating stuff, whereas now you need to very thoughtfully generate stuff, which is a totally different vibe. Um, on top of that, since you're discovering cards from your deck, you are more concerned with what's in the deck. You're probably not relying on discovers to complete this quest. That seems um, bad at best, right? Like you do not want to rely on discovering something off of a Scorpid to complete the quest. You shouldn't need to discover a 6-drop. You should have at least a few packed into the deck. And on paper, this card does not have a deck building restriction, right? Mostly you're going to run 2, 3, 4, all the way through 8 anyway. But in practice, this has to be in a very carefully constructed deck. So my prediction, and of course, let's just go over Zarella real quick. So she shuffles the Purified Shard into your deck. Standard 5/7/7, just like every other upgraded mercenary will be and has been. So she shuffles the Purified Shard into your deck, which is another key difference. Other times, most of the time, the hero is the reward itself, and it has some powerful effect associated with its battle cry, because this is so powerful it shuffles it into your deck, right? So what's really interesting here is that you are going to end up with scenarios where you are discovering cards. You're like, do I discover the card I need now, or do I discover the card I need to complete the quest, right? Or do I really play Xyrella now, or do I wait? Because 5 mana 7/7 is strong, but you know you're waiting at least until turn 9 to play it, right? Because necessarily you have to have played an 8 cost here. Um, so not instantly impacting the board is going to be strange. So my gut feeling here is that this deck will not be great. I don't think it will ever be tier 1, but I think especially early on it will not be great because it hasn't been optimized yet. A lot of decks, like let's say like a mid-range hunter deck, you can kind of get away with not being optimized and you'll do well enough. This, I think, because it's so careful by its nature with the requirements for the drops and when you need to play them, that this being suboptimal makes it bad. I also think that Priest building its control tools to try to get to a sort of a combo, just like a turn where you just, you snap and they're dead, right? I think that's much more interesting than what Priest has been doing. So overall, I'm very happy with this direction they're trying to take Priest, and I think it will be successful, if not immediately successful, because again, this is such a difficult thing to pull off that I think there will be a lot of consideration for what the optimal build looks like, and it will take us a couple weeks to actually get there, right? That's at least just my prediction. I'm also not great at deck building. Maybe, the pros are seeing this and they know exactly how to build it right away, right? I will fully admit that I don't practice deck building that much. So, what I'm thinking is that this will be a good card. I think it will create a solid tier 2 deck. Eventually, it's going to start weaker, though. I mean, as all decks do. It's just that the floor is way low on this, right? It's way, way low because of how complex this is. So that is my take on this. I'm really happy. This is the most hopeful I've been for Priest, again, since Scholomance, and even then, that like pales in comparison to how happy I am with this. And remember, Benedictus is still around, so unfortunately, you cannot run Benedictus and that quest, because the quest it's not a holy spell, but it's also not a shadow spell. So all spells in your deck have to be shadow. It's not all spells have to not be holy, right? And I think that is exactly why they don't want quest Benedictus Priest, right? So overall, very happy with how that card is going to turn out, I think. Let's move on to Kodo Mount. So this is a relatively uninteresting card. I mean, rares are not going to compete with legendaries in the realm of being interesting. That's the design of Hearthstone, right? So, Kodo Mount, cool. 4 mana, give a minion 4/2 and rush. Giving things rush is super powerful. Giving things rush and lots of attack, even more powerful. Summoning a 4/2 afterwards, really strong. This is such a good card. This would be great in a more beast-centric druid deck, right? It might even be interesting in spell druid, right? So like you play your let's say you have an okay, well, Gibberling's kind of nerfed to the ground, but let's say you have an okay Gibberling turn, and you're like, and it's kind of late, and you're like, oh crap. So I can pump out a couple more spells, get some more Gibberlings, but they're not going to be buffed up, or I can buff up one Gibberling and clear their board, and hopefully keep that Gibberling that's still a spell burst safe, right? Or even in a more mid-rangey type beast druid, one where you're not doing like little mini combos, but rather you're just trying to pile stuff on the board and keep tempo and keep your board healthy and their board low. Being able to develop 2 rush minions for 1 card for 4 mana even is very powerful. This is just a great effect, right? This is a strong effect that goes well in a lot of different settings. For sure, we'll see play in arena, of course. Anything with rush sees play in arena. So not nearly as exciting as the previous card. It's not, as we say in the business, the sexiest card to exist, but it is very powerful, and that is almost as important, right? So the other card we have today, that was a little, don't look at the other card you saw. We're looking at this one first. So we have Rats of Extraordinary Size. I love it. I love Rats of Extraordinary Size, and this is just a picture of the rat. He's eating a little egg. Okay, I like this. So these 1/1 rats. You summon 7 of them for 6 mana. So this is something we've seen. We saw it in Uldum with Locust. We saw it in Demon Hunter with Acrobats, which are really Illidari, right? So the Locusts had Rush. That was their thing. The Illidari had Rush, and also they spawned a whole new fleet of them if they all died, right? So you have this idea of like, okay, so there's a reason to like do it when you're like playing around with your board, whatever. What these do with that's interesting with board space. Anytime any that can't fit on the battlefield, go to your hand with +4/+4. So you get a 1 mana 5/5 rat in your hand, right? The thing being obviously that they aren't played that turn because these are 1/1s with not with rush, not with anything. They're just 1/1s, right? I guess you could kill them. You could like shoot an arcane shot at them and summon a 5/5 for 1. That's 8 mana just to get a kind of bigger guy. I don't super love this card. So it's a greedy hunter card, which usually doesn't work out that well. It is flooding the board with 1/1s for 6 mana, which isn't super powerful. Locusts worked because they had Rush. Illidari worked because they have Rush. Rats out Rush, not really feeling it. Of course, that is a huge buff, right? Like, this is supposed to be a weak on-board effect to generate value for later. Getting 5/5s for 1. Presumably, they will be 1 mana still. They will just be this token with +4/+4. It'll be like green numbers. It's not like a different card, right? I don't think that this is super powerful, unless Hunter gets some tools to help cheat them out, right? The big issue is that by the nature of flooding your board, you are probably not going to be playing these rats, the buffed up ones, right? I guess the idea is if you have some minions, let's say you have 2 minions on board already from the previous turn, and you play rats, then you kill these, then you play a rat or 2 from your hand, a ratatouille from hand. Maybe that is what you're supposed to do with this, I think, but I just don't think that's powerful enough, right? Again, always with all these things up to what we see, what support these get, what we see in the meta in general. But my faith in this card is kind of low. The next one, however, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of this. So the Rat King, our boy the Rat King, from this is I want to say it's the first Battlegrounds thing to become a uh mainstay Hearthstone thing. Not that the Rat King is original to Battlegrounds, obviously, but this actually is he? Uh you Google that. I'm not gonna put it up on the screen. So 5 mana 5/5 with Rush. Okay, so it's like a Rhino. Go dormant is its death rattle. So vulnerable to silence, but not if you are rushing it every turn and it's dying every turn, right? Um, and it revives after 5 friendly minions die. So that does admittedly make the previous card better. I don't think it's great, but it does make it better. This is basically permanently taking up a board slot, so it's not like it otherwise synergizes with the rats, right? In the one sense, you will always get a rat in hand, even if this is dormant. In the other sense, that means that unlike the previous scenario where I said, "Oh, you kill your guy that was on board, and then you play a beefy rat," and you don't get to do that because this guy, when he dies, still takes up that board slot, right? So I really, really like this. You having like rush on demand like that is so nice. Whenever something dies, you've got your Wolpertinger, you've got your various rush minions, right? If Hunter had some sort of card like bees, this would be just absurd, right? Hunter has a lot of ways to make a bunch of tiny guys. Think hyenas, right? So we've got Kokar Pack Runner, we've got the 1 mana ping that summons a rush guy. We've got Demon Companion, which summons potentially a charge minion. All sorts of ways to get rush tokens or tokens that can attack immediately in Hunter right now. And that is where the power of this card lies. I think this is a staple in if we just kind of took like the current top tier Hunter deck. I think that this would go very well with that because sometimes your opponent puts up a big taunt and you're like, I used my 3 removal resources. I'm out, right? I look, man. I did an arcane shot. That's all I got, right? But now you drop the Rat King. It trades. It dies, and the opponent's like, okay, fine, whatever. And then next turn you play your Kolkar and you shoot out a bunch of spells, and then all your hyenas die, and the Rat King's back, baby, and now you have this 5/5 threat like this. It's a not insubstantial threat. That's the big thing here, right? The Rat King is pretty strong just as a card. 5 mana 5/5 is weak, obviously. With Rush, even it's still weak, but it's workable. But this upside is huge, especially with the token generation of Hunter right now. So I have a lot of faith that this card will do well. Contrast that, of course, with the previous rat themed card, where I don't know, just doesn't really appeal to me. So this was kind of a surprise card. If you look at the reveal schedule, you'll notice that this was not there, which I thought was very strange. Usually they're pretty careful about making sure these cards, if they are on the schedule, they get released when the schedule happens. Maybe somebody just like typed in rat on the search bar and hit live on the wrong thing and then the other thing and didn't notice. I don't know. But this was a very pleasant surprise. I sat down to record this video like right at 4 after looking at the other rats card, and I was like, wait a second. Where did this Rat King come out? And I went to Hearthstone immediately, and everyone's just talking about like bonus card. Like, all right, I guess we got a bonus card. Thank you, Hearthstone. Very cool. I appreciate the rats. I appreciate Hunter cards that are cool like this. And I look forward to seeing you all later today at like 10 p.m. when the next set of like 3, or as far as we know, because of this Rat King, 4 reveals comes out. All right, if you don't want to miss that, go ahead and subscribe. Tell me what you're excited about below in the comments. Tell me what you think of that Quest Priest. That's where the convo is, guys. Tell me about Quest Priest, please. And like the video, subscribe, do everything that you want to do. Check the description. Click some other videos. They're going to be all over here. And I'll see you in Stormwind.